Bust it.
The budget size is 8.6 trillion naira, and it is about 1.71 trillion naira, much more than the 2017 budget. A deficit of 2 trillion naira. Borrowing is expected to rise up to 1.69 trillion to augment the budget. A whopping 2 trillion naira has been set aside for debt servicing. Recurrent expenditure is 3.49 trillion, while the capital aspect is 2.4 trillion. Up from the 2.2 trillion capital aspects of the 2017 budget. These are some of the details of the estimates that the president laid before both chambers of the National Assembly yesterday. That's on Tuesday, before, of course, the National Assembly by the president. Now the National Assembly members are expected to get down to work immediately. But we know sometime in December, they will indeed be going on their vacation. Of course, the issue of when the National Assembly members will be done with the budget is one big contention. The president hoping that we'll return to the January to December financial year. The hope is that the National Assembly will pass by December to make that happen. Just as the Nigerian Senate yesterday called for the scrap of the excess crude oil account. You know the excess crude oil account, ECA for short. For instance, in this budget 2018 budget estimate, Nigeria is hoping, has set its price benchmark for crude oil at $45, but presently selling at about $62 in the international market. The differential is what goes into the excess crude account. And the Senate said it has been a slush funds, a conduit pipe where funds meant for, of course, the country are being diverted and called for a scrap. Of course, this is not the first time such is being done. My name is Amechi Anakwe. Of course, a lot of activities in the PDP secretariat yesterday. Those aspiring to indeed pick up some positions in the National Working Committee had lots of events. High Chief Ale Odopesi submitted his nomination form for the chairmanship of the party. It was a funfair there, and indeed one that reminds other contestants that indeed the stakes are high. We shall also be taking you to Anambra State, where we hope to give you update from INEC on preparations for that election. Adebayo Bodra, as usual, is with us in the studio.
Amishi, I think there are three takeaways from the budget presentation yesterday by the president, and I think people need to know about it. The budget speech was a little over 6,000 words, and the president stood for 69 minutes reading that speech, and I think it's an indication of the fact that he has indeed recovered from
his ill health and ready to go for 2019.
Yeah, 69 minutes he stood and read the speech, which was a little over 6,000 words. Then there was also appeared to be concession. He appeared to be conceding to the request of the lawmakers. He did not speak about constituency project. He spoke about zonal intervention project. And if you look at the lawmakers yesterday, they were clapping. That means they are having their way in getting constituency projects. There was also a planned move by some lawmakers, particularly the PDP, to stage a protest. They arrived at the premises of the National Assembly with placards with various inscriptions. And of course, the leadership of the National Assembly, particularly at the level of the Speaker of House of Representatives and the Senate President, had to call for a meeting. There was a closed-door meeting for about 2 hours where they pleaded that the protest be shelved.
And they had to shade their
And
swords.
indeed, it was indeed shelved. And I think those are the three takeaways which I think may not be in the public domain. The other thing which I want to say is that this budget ritual, is a ritual. I call it a ritual because at the end of the day, Why was those lawmakers who want to protest yesterday? What was their grounds? They said up to now the implementation of budget is at 15%. And I think it's not just a case of giving us a budget speech. It's not a case of the lawmakers getting engaged in the usual ritual of inviting key government officials to either defend and then either add or subtract the figures, and at the end of the day, it does not impact positively on the life of the people. That is the area where I think
the capacity of the bureaucracy, federal bureaucracy, to spend the money. And of course, accruals into the federation account, loans that to be negotiated are also part of the reasons why we have a slow implementation. Sometimes you expect and project certain an amount of revenue to come in, you won't see them. Borrowings to come in. Of course, the National Assembly yet to approve the borrowing plan, 5.5 billion for 2017 budget. How do you expect all these budgets to be implemented when the funds are not readily available? Mustafa Mohammed is also with us in the studio.
I can't say I'm very happy. It doesn't have much to do with the availability of money most times. It has to do with the caliber of people the president has appointed as ministers and heads of parastatals. A lot of them are just there 2 years into the government, waiting for the president to do the thinking for them. If you look at the performance of so many of the ministers, you will know that it's below the expectations of Nigerians. The president can present budgets 1,000 times, but who are the foot soldiers in the ministries and parastatals who can take the initiative to implement this budget? In fact, a lot of Nigerians were disappointed, thinking when he returns from his treatment in UK, he's going to reshuffle this cabinet. A lot of ministers will go and heads of parastatals and bring in brains who can work. Remember what happened when Obasanjo came out with the cabinet, where you had people like El-Rufai, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. El-Rufai turned around the FCT. You can drive through the Wuse market, no garbage on the highway, everywhere is clean. So Nigerians are hoping that the president needs to go beyond the presentation of the budget. Most of these ministers should go and give way for people who can think for the president, who can think for the budget, who can implement policies to uplift the lives of Nigerians.
Jamal Samoa is here. It was a beehive of activities for you yesterday at the PDP.
I bet you call that beehive of activities for the PDP, but so much work for me as a journalist, because I remember I was at the PDP secretariat till almost late afternoon before I came to work. What we saw yesterday is just, for me, I think it's just to show that the PDP is waking up from their sleep, because the premises of their national headquarters yesterday was like a carnival. We had Raymond Aliogu-Dokpesi, who went to submit his nomination form.
Was he the first to do that?
I don't think so, but he was the first to make it public, and he was the first to brighten up the Wadata House, as it's popularly called. And another professor also went there yesterday to do the same thing after Raymond Aliogu-Dokpesi left. I think it's Ladoja. And that same yesterday, we also saw the beginning of the contest of other seats in the NWC of the PDP. We saw the likes of Abubakar Suleiman, declaring his intention to contest for the publicity secretary of the party. But there's something about that his own intention. He is from Kwara State. We are hearing that it was zoned to Kogi. So I hope he wins.
It's about the issue of the micro zoning.
Yes.
It's
I think
to this North Central.
North Central. So is there are all these permutations and calculations that microzoning and all the rest. The National Public Secretary is zoned to the North Central geopolitical zone. Is from there, and the Ahmed McCarthy, the current national chairman of the party, has left no one in doubt that microzoning, they are not promoting it.
But today the PDP is meeting. There was a meeting of all the aspirants. First of all, it held at Raymond Aliogu-Dokpesi's home, and it also held at other places. So that meeting, the outcome of that meeting, they will have to sign it They will have to sign an accord, something like a peace accord, that this is what we want.
Among the aspirants.
Yes, and hand it over to the National Working Committee. And by today, after their caucus meeting, because there's supposed to be a caucus meeting today, we hope that that ritual will be carried out.
Well, I think the essence of it is not just the accord is that whoever emerges as national chairman among the 8 candidates will be supported by others, on the condition that the intra-party polls will be credible and popular.
Okay, it was also some carnival of sort for Professor Suleiman Abubakar during his declaration. Of course, the lots of activities are going on in the PDP tells you that indeed maybe the party is changing for the better. You hardly even remember there is 4 positions in the National Working Committee you think is for the big election. But let's take a break. After the break, we'll take your mails. We'll also be doing a leadership this Wednesday. Ability of course, the bureaucracy to implement the budget could be down to a lack of leadership capacity. But let's wait as we, of course, go for a commercial break. Please don't get away.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Welcome back from the break. It's the mail segment, and I'm Amaka Okoro.
I'm Usaiti Yari. Welcome.
We'll begin the segment with a mail from Dixon Eka in Abuja, and he writes on the 2018 budget presentation by President Muhammadu Buhari. The mail reads, I congratulate His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari and the Budget Ministry for the timely presentation of the 2018 budget to the National Assembly. This is the first time we're having the official presentation of the budget in November, as we have always had it in December. The inclusion of the cleanup of Ogoni land and other major projects is a good development. But is it enough to have the budget presented and passed without implementation? How has the 2017 budget fared so far? What's the level of implementation? Why pegging the oil benchmark at $45 per barrel when we are selling for $63 currently? Why not at least $50 per barrel? The federal government should admit that they have failed in the implementation of the 2017 budget so that we can shift our attention to the 2018 appropriations. After all, most items on the 2017 budget are repeated in the 2018.
More reactions to the 2018 budget presentation. Monday Amen Abuja says, I wish to commend President Muhammadu Buhari for the early presentation of a very promising, ambitious and optimistic 2018 appropriation bill tagged Budget of Consolidation to the joint session of the National Assembly. The allocation of a whopping sum of 2.4 trillion naira, inclusive of capital in statutory transfers, representing about 30.8% of the total budget for capital expenditure, if diligently implemented, will result to massive completion of ongoing capital projects in the nooks and crannies of the country, and will rejig our economic growth. Kudos to the President for allocating the sum of 118.9 billion naira to agriculture from 92 billion in the 2017 budget. This is historic and unprecedented, and it's a pointer to the fact that the economic diversification efforts of the administration is no fluke. I urge the lawmakers to cooperate with the executive, irrespective of party affiliation, to ensure they properly scrutinize the budget, devoid of sentiment, partisan approach, and padding. God bless Nigeria.
And still on the budget presentation, Amechi Bochi from Kuba in Abuja says, President Buhari yesterday presented a 2018 budget proposal of 8.61 trillion naira to a joint session of the National Assembly, with recurrent expenditure having the lion's share of about 3.494 trillion naira and capital expenditure having 2.428 trillion naira, and the remaining goes for debt servicing. A very good budget according to some analysts, but will this budget drive the Nigerian economy, as the amount expended so far in the 2017 budget on capital items is nothing to write home about? One would have expected that Buhari who has been shouting that Nigeria must move away from mono economy, should have given more attention to capital items while reducing that of recurrent. Anyway, now that the budget has been sent and approval being expected from the National Assembly, I urge Buhari to put all implements together to enable him hit the wheels running the moment the budget is passed and the 2018 fiscal year arrives.
Away from that, Adams in Gwarimpa Abuja is writing on the analysis on the platform. He says, I don't know where the death of children due to malaria in Jigawa and the girls who are being trafficked by wicked women because of their insatiable desire for material wealth has anything to do with the APC government's 2 years in office. This is a societal issue that needs serious legislation to tackle, and with your position as journalist, I bet you can help in creating awareness rather than treading on blame game. God bless Nigeria.
And on governance in Imo State, Oko Chukwuka from Enugu State says, despite the public outcry that trailed the erection and unveiling of the statue of South African President Jacob Zuma a few weeks ago by the Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha, the governor wants to add another feather to his cap of honor of African leaders as he hosts the Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf tomorrow. Just like Jacob Zuma, Mrs. Sirleaf will be conferred with chieftaincy title and a street named after her in addition to her statue that will be unveiled. It is shameful that Governor Okorocha is wasting so much money on frivolous issues while poverty remains endemic in Imo State. There is no gainsaying the fact that the governor cherishes his foundation, which he has used to emancipate the downtrodden in 55 countries in Africa. But he should concentrate on the governance of Imo State now, so that when his tenure as governor expires, he can face his personal business, of which the foundation is one of them. Maybe Imo State will soon be blessed with statues of all 55 African leaders. May God help Imolites and Nigerians in general.
That's it on the mail segment today. Continue to write to us through political platform at yahoo.com.
Busted.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. Let's start with the leadership issues. Linus Okorie, our usual guest, is around at the Emerging Leaders Conference. Is not far away. Leadership issues are, of course, topical in Nigeria. Talking of course, helping to indeed make sure that the plan that we have drawn for ourselves in form of a budget works. Most times, less than 50%. Where is the place of leadership in all this?
For me, the truth of the matter is that execution, ability to implement, is a leadership competence, specifically. And that's why I'm saying that you need aggressive execution. That's why you must be enterprising in order to be able to execute any idea, any vision, any program. The truth of the matter is that when there's a huge deficit of human beings with energy and capacity to push themselves beyond limit for the common good, when there's a deficit of that, what you see most of the time is what is going on currently. And so in my view, specifically, I would like to say that the ability to mobilize resources in order to drive a budget is a responsibility of the governance process, is a responsibility of the people in government to be able to do that. The ability to anticipate the future and then begin to do everything necessary.
And these are what the Emerging Leaders Conference is hoping to, the gap.
Absolutely. What the Emerging Leaders Conference is saying is that it is possible that somebody is a good man or you have good people, but the truth of the matter is that they need certain competencies in order to drive. And one of the competencies that we're driving to say for the next future of this country, for the future of Nigeria, we need a critical mass of young people understanding the practice of certain leadership competencies so that if they use it in their personal businesses, they will thrive. If they use that in the organizations where they work for, they will thrive.
Now, Linus, one of the biggest problems we've lamented as a result of lack of it is the very bad leadership recruitment mechanism. Is your leadership conference going to address such issues? Because wherever you go, the problem is the same. Leadership. Then the bad people that we have, how did they come to the platform to be?
So the truth of the matter is that even in the leadership recruitment process, the agencies of government responsible for regulating or guiding that process, basically, they must operate with high level of leadership competencies themselves. The ability to speak truth to power, make it happen.
Much we can take. But let's quickly bring in the
Bust it.